What's up, Car Squad fam, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Derek and I do car reviews. Today we're on the island of Barbados in the Caribbean and we're taking a look at this 2008 Suzuki Grand Vitara. Now, the third generation of the Grand Vitara ran from 2005 to 2019 with a facelift occurring in mid-2008 and then again in 2012. Now, this one, being a 2008, is prior to that facelift that occurred in mid-2008. Today I'll give you a tour around the exterior and interior of the vehicle. Then I'll try to get some driving footage, as I did forget to bring my camera clamp for that. And then I'll wrap it up by giving you my thoughts on the vehicle. And one other thing, while I am in Barbados for this video, I am located in the Northern California Bay Area. So if you've got a vehicle up that way that I can review, please shoot me an email at the address listed here. Thanks. All right, so starting off up front here in the engine bay, you'll see the 2-liter inline-4 that powers this vehicle. Now, depending on which market you were in, there were different engine options available. In some markets, there was a 1.6-liter 4-cylinder, there was a 2.7-liter V6, and then there was a 1.9-liter diesel engine that was sourced from Renault. These vehicles came standard as rear-wheel drive, but 4-wheel drive was an option, which this one has. This one with the 2-liter 4-cylinder and 4-wheel drive produced 138 horsepower and 134 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour or 0 to 62 miles per hour is 12.5 seconds, and it has a top speed of 175 kilometers per hour or 109 miles per hour. It does have a 4-speed automatic transmission, but the Grand Vitara could also be had with a 5-speed manual. A 5-speed automatic transmission was only available on V6 variants. Fuel efficiency is rated at 10.1 liters per 100 kilometers combined, but looking on some forums, I saw numbers more in the 9.1 to 9.4 liters of fuel for every 100 kilometers driven. Now, although this vehicle is a 2008, it is prior to that facelift that happened mid-2008. After that facelift occurred in 2008, there were 2 new engine options available. One was a 2.4-liter inline-4, which produced 164 horsepower. The other was a GM-sourced 3.2-liter V6, which produced 231 horsepower. In 2012, when the second facelift of this third generation occurred, in addition to some of the aesthetic changes, they also discontinued the V6 engine. All right, so moving around to the back of the vehicle, you'll see you do have a spare tire attached to the back of the vehicle here. Pulling on this handle, we'll open that door out to the side, and you'll see before getting into the trunk, you do have a small pocket here in the door for some storage, and then decent amount of space there on the floor, quite big, for hauling around whatever items you may need to. On the right side of the trunk here, you have another small pocket just like you see on that door, and then if you pull on this tab in the floor, you'll reveal a pretty decent sized storage compartment under the floor of the trunk. Now, there's also a release on each side of these seats on the back, and that will allow you to fold these back seats down. So if you want to haul any larger items, you can go ahead and do so. Now, on the left side of the trunk here, you'll notice you do have a cigarette style lighter outlet, and to the left of that, if you open this compartment, that is where you will find your jack stand. All right, so moving into the back seat of this vehicle. Now, the driver's seat is set to my driving position. I'm 6'1", and I have decent foot room here down below. My knees don't touch the back of this seat, and I have good headroom, so fairly reasonable amount of space for my height here. And you don't have a bunch of gadgets or toys back here. You just have a simple armrest that folds down out of that center seat. Down below, you do have a little pocket here that folds down, revealing 2 cup holders. The backs of both front seats do have pockets for storage. And then, of course, you've got small storage pockets down below on the door themselves. All right, finally, moving into the driver's seat of the vehicle. You'll see at my height, 6'1", I'm pretty comfortable here. I've got good headroom again, good legroom to drive comfortably. Now, as far as adjusting the seat, it's just all manual adjustments. Of course, down below the seat, you have your release to slide that seat forward and back. With this latch here, that'll allow you to lift the seat up or down, and then just behind that is your latch to adjust that seat back forward and back. Now, for the steering wheel itself, you do have a button down below which you can release and allow this steering wheel to move up or down. You cannot, however, pull this steering wheel out or away from you. On the door itself, you'll find your left and right mirror controls. Just behind that, your 4 window controls, your window lockout button, and your lock and unlock for the vehicle. Down below, as you'll see here, there's a large pocket for some storage items, this being the pocket where that water bottle would go. And then down here on the floor is where you will find your gas tank release. Taking a look at the steering wheel itself, you'll see you have the ability to mute the audio here, your ability to toggle through whatever audio source you're listening to, volume, toggle through those tracks. And then you've got your wiper stock and your blinker and light stock here, both which feel very sturdy, I should say, as does much of this vehicle. To the right of the steering wheel here, you'll find your button to turn on and off those fog lights. And then the gauge cluster is very simple, nothing complicated. You've got your speedometer in the middle, tachometer to the left, and then your engine temperature along with your fuel and what gear you're in to the right side there. Moving more into the center console of the vehicle here now, you do have that armrest which can open up and you reveal a small storage compartment here. In front of that, alongside that handbrake, you do have a button you can press, opening up and revealing 2 cup holders there. In front of that, you have your gear shifter, and on either side of that, you've got cigarette style lighter outlets. In front of that, a pocket that is revealed here for some storage, smaller items. And then just above you on the left side here, you do have your 4-wheel drive control to put it in 4 high lock, 4 low lock. And then above, all your climate controls, which are very simple to use. On the left side, you've got a knob that you just turn left and right to adjust the temperature up and down. In the center, you can choose where that air is blowing to. So if you're just trying to defrost the front window or just blowing on your face, or face and feet. And then to the right is your knob to control your fan speed. Wish more vehicles were still this simple. Now above that, you will find that this vehicle has an aftermarket head unit in, and just below there's a pocket again for some storage items. Above you'll find your hazard light button along with 2 vents, and then a small screen just above which shows info like the time, the temperature outside, and your fuel economy. Now up above you do have a pocket here for sunglasses, along with 2 dome lights. You just hit these buttons to turn them on and off. And then you do have sun visors that fold down and out, but they do not slide out, unfortunately. Well, that wraps up the review portion of the exterior and interior of the vehicle. Now I'll put you in the driver's seat to see what it's like driving it. So my thoughts on the 2008 Suzuki Grand Vitara. Hopefully you were able to get an idea of how it rode over some of the rough roads on the island during the driving portion. And to be honest, the ride wasn't super rough. It wasn't smooth, but it was fine for me and not nearly as bad as I would have expected it to be when looking at some of the roads and bumps we were driving over. Now, when we got on roads that were better paved, it was very smooth and comfortable. The power felt fine, especially on the island where you're not getting up to very high speeds. I think the fastest I got it up to was 85 kilometers per hour on a stretch of the highway where it felt solid and planted. And that is something that stood out during my time with the vehicle. Everything felt very solid and well put together. Yes, it's been used around the island on rough roads and a beach vehicle hauling boards around, but after 17 years, and this one has 135,000 kilometers or about 83,000 miles, the vehicle still feels very solid. Opening and closing doors, you feel it. The seats have held up very well, and the electronics, which are all simple, they still work. The steering wheel and instruments, all are solid, and those don't feel cheap at all, like I mentioned during the review. The vehicle all around, like I said, just feels very sturdy and built to last. Now, the J-Series engine this vehicle has been around since 1996, and of course since then there were changes to the engine as they tweaked and mastered it over the years. So with that being said, and from what I've seen on forums, this seems to be a solid and reliable powertrain. I did see people mentioning potential timing chain problems and rattling, but that seems to be more related to skipped oil changes, which with any car you should not do. Use of correct oil and filter and maintaining a proper maintenance schedule, from what I see, seems to take care of avoiding some of those issues, hopefully. But if you're looking to purchase one of these, of course, be sure to listen for any timing chain rattle. And as with any vehicle you purchase, get a hold of service records if you can. That shows proper intervals. One other thing I did notice when driving this particular vehicle was when starting it up when cold and driving out of a driveway, for example, with no throttle pressure, and I would brake, there was a loud squeaking or almost grinding type of sound. It would stop when the car was warm, so I want to think maybe it was the brakes, but the brakes did operate fine. One thing I did see on forums was that the coil pack probes are a weak point and could cause a creaking or squeaking noise from the sway bar bushing, so maybe that's what I was experiencing. The owner said their mechanic worked on it and everything is fine, but it still makes that sound seemingly just right after startup when cold. Now, if you own one of these, please be sure to leave a comment below to let others know what your experience has been like and any issues or things people should be aware of if they're buying one. I personally think it's a nice sized SUV that allows you to fit adults comfortably, has a good amount of cargo space, is built well, and will hold up well while being able to tolerate some rougher terrain. And it seems to be fairly reliable if you maintain it properly. The 4-cylinder, like I said, for the island environment where you don't get up too much speed was fine. If there's a need in your life for more power, then you can look at the V6. Now, you don't see a lot of these in the US, but they are around. I've been back from Barbados now for 4 days, and there was actually one alongside me at a stoplight yesterday. I looked online for ones for sale, and you can get them under $7,000. Of course, they've got some mileage on them, but the lowest mileage one I saw had 86,000 miles and was listed for $7,000 by a dealer. For its size, you'd be looking at something like an older RAV4 or CRV, and with the reputation and top-notch reliability on both of those, you'll pay a little bit more. So I think this is a good alternative if you want to save some money up front while getting something of similar size that is maybe a bit more rugged. But that wraps up the review of this vehicle. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're not already to make sure you're not missing out on other reviews like this. And be sure to give us a follow on Instagram at CarSquadTV. I'll put the name and link right here. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.